It was the end of an era. Let's talk about it. So now that the ERAS tour has come to an end, I thought it would be really fun to kind of reflect and look back and just discuss a lot of this. Obviously, this has been a big part of the cultural zeitgeist for the past 2 years. And on top of that, you know, I made videos predicting things, reacting to things. So now that we've reached the end, I have a lot to reflect on. So in this video, I'm going to share a few of my favorite things, some rankings of surprise songs, and of course, reacting to your unpopular opinions and sharing my own. So let's get into it. I just want to start this video by acknowledging that I was very, very lucky to be able to go to the ERAS tour. I know there are so many people who wanted to go and weren't able to for a multitude of reasons. I just want to say, like, if this is a video that won't feel good for you to watch, please feel free to skip this if this won't be enjoyable for you. The last thing I want to do is make anyone feel worse. Also, this is obviously just all in good fun. So if I don't mention your surprise song or I have strong opinions, it's all said with love. Okay, so I know I made a super emo reaction video to the last night and the last surprise songs and all that, but I'm actually kind of excited that the ERAS tour is over. Like, I don't mean that in the sense that, oh, it was getting boring or I was ready for it to be over. I just think Taylor deserves such a rest. Usually tours don't go anywhere near as long as this, and normally tours are not this like demanding physically, emotionally. The amount of effort that this required from Taylor, from her dancers, her team, her crew, everyone. I'm just like, good for you guys. You deserve, as we call it at my camp, some feet on bed. Obviously, this will always be a huge part of Taylor's legacy, and I just feel like watching them on that final night, it felt like watching them at the end of London when it was almost like letting out a sigh of relief, like we did it. So now whatever comes next, whenever it comes, I will be here and I will be very excited to see it. Okay, so my favorite things, I was gonna go through like the entire tour and list all of the things that I loved, but given there were like 149 shows over 2 years, I don't think we have time for that right now. I want to focus firstly on the final show because we haven't really talked about that. And my favorite thing was the big group hug. Normally that final bow is about Taylor, like Taylor is alone having that moment in the spotlight, taking her own bow and then like leaving down on her own. So this time I was really happy to see everyone who has been on that stage together celebrating that moment together, this achievement that they have had, because yes, Taylor's up there, we're looking at her every night. All of those dancers are there just as much as she is. They've put in the same amount of time, the same amount of effort. This was very much a group project. I just thought that was really sweet of Taylor to make sure they all felt really included. I was getting emotional watching how emotional they seemed. So the fact that they not only embraced one another and shared that moment, but the fact that Taylor also left the stage with them felt like, you know, we're one big team, which is the truth. You guys already know my thoughts on the orange door, but if you have any, let me know below. I also can't think of a more perfect surprise song than A Place in This World, especially given that the secret message for it is I found it.
What songs really encapsulate how I feel about tonight? And so I decided to go back to the beginning. Just a girl trying to find a place in this world.
She was looking for her purpose and she found it. She found what she was meant to do with her life, and this was just the biggest celebration of that. Obviously, if you guys saw my reaction, I did predict the final 3. Those totally made sense to me, but I'm still kind of shocked that You're on Your Own Kid didn't get a slot in that final run. One of my other favorite things about this tour was, I think, something that I predicted or hoped would happen, which was the inclusion of, you know, her old bandmates. We have people from the agency, we had the Starlights, people that have been there with Taylor through her career. It just made so much sense for them to have a part in the ERAS tour. For me personally, especially Paul and Amos, they have been there since the first shows I've seen Taylor at. I think they might have been at every single era that I've seen Taylor. Big love to those guys. Seeing the little moments that Taylor has with them during Fearless each night just always warmed my heart. If you guys have any like kind of favorite little moments during the show, please let me know in the comments. Overall, I obviously just hope Taylor and everyone involved in this like monstrous beast of a tour feel really happy and proud of what they created. Obviously, the bonuses that Taylor gave out are phenomenal. I think that's really quite unheard of, and I think she's setting a fantastic example in that. But yeah, I'm just really proud of how much joy this tour and everything that has come from it has brought so many people. Like, I know there are so many new fans because of this tour, because I see you guys in the comments, I've met them on tour, and I guess I have to say my favorite thing about all of this, which is a little bit bittersweet, but it was such a celebration of girlhood, and I know we've said that a lot, but especially at my shows, I felt so safe and so welcome, and that has always been a really big part of Taylor's identity and her songwriting. That's always been a safe space for us. But also just being at the MCG, which in Melbourne is like a big sporting venue. I was gonna say football, but then I was like, is it cricket or football? Literally could not tell you. I don't go there because it's kind of just like not an environment that I would feel overly safe. So being there, A, for the biggest shows of her entire career, that will always feel really special, but just feeling so surrounded by the most lovely, beautiful people. I remember when You're Losing Me played for my surprise song, the people next to me, it was like a group of 3 or 4, like lost their minds and kind of took me into their group as I lost my mind. And I was just like, where else does this happen where we get to share emotional experiences in such a beautiful, positive, open way, and like friendship bracelet trading, you know, making costumes. I mean, Taylor said it great. I'm just a girl trying to find a place in this world, and I found it at the ERAS tour. So once again, if there are any Swifties from Vienna watching this, I don't even really know how to communicate how I feel because I can't imagine how you feel. Obviously I can try and put myself in your shoes and imagine how I would feel, but I haven't experienced it, so it's not really fair for me to pretend. I imagine it must be really hard to hear us go on and on about how safe we felt and how much we loved it when you guys were robbed of that experience. And again, I'm just so sorry. I know I went on a whole Instagram like rant about it at the time, but yeah, if any of you are watching, I'm just sending so much love. Obviously, most importantly, I'm just so glad that you're all safe. Obviously, I said I'm really excited for this new chapter, but one thing I am really bummed about on like a selfish personal level is that it was a really easy and safe and fun way for me to meet you guys. Like, besides the Harry Styles concert and like Maisie Peters and stuff, I guess, I just know like that's where my people are. That's where like the people I get who understand me and connect with me, that's where I get to bump into you. So I really enjoyed that. If any of you watching were people that were in my vlog or said hello or traded bracelets with me, thank you so much. You guys were all part of what made that so special and fun for me. And what a beautiful legacy for Taylor to have, that for the most part at least, her fan base and the culture and community that she's cultivated is one largely of empathy and kindness and sisterhood and togetherness. I just think that's a beautiful legacy to have. Okay, it is time for me to rank some surprise songs. I obviously could do all 150 nights, but I didn't really want to bring any negativity to like ranking people's shows last. I just didn't feel right about that because obviously every single show is incredible and the surprise song is just like the cherry on top of the cake. So what I will do is give you guys my top 10 and I would love to hear yours in the comments. Also, I will leave below a link. Someone has created one of those like song sorters where you go this versus this, and then at the end it spits out this is your ranking. I haven't done it because it would take a while, but it looks very fun. Also, quick side note, I'm not gonna rank mine just because again, I feel weird placing any kind of judgment on that, but I will tell you what I had. So the first song I had was Red, which I think you probably see in the vlog. I lost my mind over. I love Red. I think it is so underrated to get a song from that album, let alone such a good one. I was a very happy girl. And then You're Losing Me for the first time ever. So that was great. Naturally, everyone around me, and I'm sure outside the stadium, and I'm sure probably also watching online, lost their minds at that because we weren't expecting it. And then Taylor also announced the Bolter, so that was very cool. But honestly, I was still on a high from Red. Like, I could have just got that and I was so happy. And then my second show was Teardrops on My Guitar, Come Back Be Here, and Daylight. This was kind of like the very, very beginning of mashups. I think maybe only the second night of them. So that felt incredible. Obviously, me being a early country girly, getting a debut song meant the world. So yeah, perfection, no notes. Before I tell you my top 10, I want to just give one honorary mention, and that is to Glendale Night 1. I just think starting the tour with Mirrorball, kind of about her relationship with fame and the fans and her job, the mentality of all of that, such a great way to start us off. And then Tim McGraw, I mean, her first single, the song that really got her started. It's honestly perfect. Although it is very funny because I remember watching that first night thinking that, oh cool, like Tim McGraw's on the set list every night. That's great. Imagine my surprise when night 2 happened and I was like, wait a minute.
Wait a damn minute. Wait a damn.
Okay, so let's start with number 10, and that is our very first unofficial mashup in Argentina when Taylor was singing Is It Over Now and suddenly started singing the bridge of Out of the Woods.
Is it over now?
1989, Taylor's version had come out just a few weeks prior. Obviously, they are about the same relationship and situation, so this was just the perfect combination. And I love that there is a TikTok of someone there in the audience that starts to sing it just a few seconds before Taylor and then like realizes what's happening.
Is it over now?
They must have felt so powerful. Number 9 is Lisbon Night 1. So that was Come Back Be Here, The Way I Loved You, The Other Side of the Door, and then Fresh Out the Slammer with High Fidelity.
Come back, be here. But I've been screaming and fighting, kissing in the rain, and it's 2 a.m. and I'm losing your name. That's the way I love you. With your kiss in the beautiful eyes and the conversation, the little white lies and the faded picture of a beautiful life. Now, pretty baby, I'm running back home to you.
Oh my god. If anyone is a big fan of cheating, these are great songs. I just think that's such an incredible combination. Obviously I got Come Back Be Here, so I love it. But The Way I Loved You and The Other Side of the Door are some of my all-time favorite songs and go so well together. And then having Fresh Out the Slammer and High Fidelity, oh my god, so good. I feel like you could have almost paired Cowboy Like Me with them as well. Or Guilty as Sin, I just love it. Side note, I still can't believe that Guilty as Sin wasn't on the set list. Like, does Taylor not realize that's one of the best songs she's ever made? Okay, number 8, we have Tokyo Night 2 with Eyes Open and Electric Touch.
Everybody's waiting for you to break down. Everybody's watching to see the fallout. Even when you're sleeping, keep your eyes open.
A lot of you are probably thinking, really? Like, that's top 10? But to me, this is like a Swemo dream, a Swiftie emo dream. As someone that loves her more kind of rocky songs, nothing could be better. In fact, that probably would have been a great mashup. This was before the mashups were happening, but Eyes Open and Electric Touch, yeah, I see it. I see the vision. Again, I feel like I might be the only Electric Touch stan alive and the only person that prefers Eyes Open over Safe and Sound. I should have been at Tokyo Night 2. Number 7 is New Jersey Night 1, Getaway Car featuring Jack Antonoff and Maroon.
You every day now. And I chose you. The one I was destined in New York.
I know Maroon ended up being sang 13,000 times on the tour, but this was the first time it was performed. Hearing Taylor's low notes, what do we call that? Deep voice? I know there's a musical term, but I can't remember it. Yeah, hearing that live will never get old to me. Also, I think I have to split this as a special mention for London when Jack came out and they recreated their making of a song video. I can remember so clearly when this night happened. I was in a shopping mall trying to listen on my phone and hearing Taylor say, I have a guy or like a friend here that's from New Jersey. And my brain went, Joe Jonas? I was like, is Joe Jonas gonna come out and sing Mr. Perfectly Fine forever and always? No idea why my brain went there. But no, it was in fact Jack Antonoff, which is just as exciting. At number 6, we have Amsterdam Night 3. Now this was Sweeter Than Fiction, Holy Ground, and then Mary's song, So High School, and Everything Has Changed. I mean,
Oh my god!
so like Sweeter Than Fiction, already a very underrated song and like a very rare gem for me. You don't really get Taylor singing that or acknowledging that very often. And then Holy Ground, my Stan song. That was so exciting. It would have been more exciting if I was there, but exciting nonetheless. And then obviously there was just the most beautiful mashup of 3 songs that Taylor was practically singing to her partner in the crowd. And obviously we knew this was coming. We were waiting for Mary's song to be played, you know, the 87 and 89 of it all, but it was just even better than I expected.
I'll be 87, you'll be 89.
Obviously with So High School being on the set list, kind of like August for Melbourne Night 2, you don't expect it to make an appearance in the acoustic set. I thought that was really special for Taylor to include sort of their song in this trilogy that kind of made a story. To sing in the blink of a crinkling eye, Everything Has Changed. beautiful, and I'm just always happy for her when she is happy. But most importantly, I cannot wait for debut Taylor's version to come out for everyone to see how incredible Mary's song is. That whole album, but like Mary's song is just phenomenal. It's kind of insane still to reflect upon the fact that like Travis went to the ERAS tour to give Taylor his number, and then a year later ended up with songs on the set list about him, and also like appeared on the stage. I know the world weren't crazy for their love story and people have made films and books about them, but you can kind of see why. Like, it is a very beautiful story. After the shit she's been through in her life, she deserves it. All right, now we have the top 5. So number 5 is Cincinnati Night 1, I'm Only Me When I'm With You, and Evermore. You guys know I'm Only Me When I'm With You is one of my all-time favorite Taylor songs. It was also my surprise song at the Reputation tour. Singing that, surrounded by my friends, and especially back then when it felt like, I'm not gonna say woe is me and people, there weren't a lot of Swifties, but like it was a very different time. It just felt like Taylor was really singing that to the people that had like been there through how shit the previous years had been. So that will always feel really special. But then Evermore, you guys know, like you've seen in my ranking video, I wasn't a huge Evermore stan. It wasn't like my favorite song from the album. I'll be the first to admit that. But this live performance of it completely transformed the song for me.
I'm always up being tossed. They will lie me like I just go across.
Taylor singing Justin's part, I don't think I had really heard those lyrics until she sang them. And I will say, because of that live Evermore version, because I knew you, I have been changed for good. Now, number 4, we have Foxborough. I actually don't know if I'm saying that right. Foxborough? Anyway, Massachusetts Night 1. This was Should Have Said No and Better Man. Oh my goodness. Now I considered putting this lower because I don't know, like it's not a mashup, they're just 2 songs, but to have a debut song in there, especially one as good as Should Have Said No, and then to add on to that Better Man, obviously there's no notes, that's perfection. Better Man is one of Taylor's greatest songs ever written, hands down, and has rarely ever been sang live. So that automatically gives it a boost. And then on top of the song choice, there was just like the emotion that Taylor had that night. So now we have our top 3. Feel free to make some guesses in your head, or again, can't wait to hear yours down below. But for me, number 3 is Arlington, Texas, Night 2. This was Death by a Thousand Cuts and Clean. Already just 2 of her best songs ever written, but what made it even more crazy and special was the pairing of them together. If you didn't know, I think I talked about this in my 1989 deep dives, but if you didn't know, when Lover came out, Taylor talked about how Death by a Thousand Cuts was inspired by the film Someone Great, which is about someone trying to move on from a long-term relationship and how hard that is. After Taylor publicly revealed that, the creator of the film reached out to Taylor and said, "This is crazy, but when I was writing that film, I was just listening to 1989, in particular, Clean, another song about trying to move on from an ex and like trying to heal from all the ways you're attached to them." The pairing of these 2 together, Taylor, oh, I just can't wait for the documentary that she said nothing about, but I've just like assumed we're getting, because I really just would love to hear about how she comes up with these pairings. Like, is she sitting there throughout the week looking at her catalog, thinking about, well, thematically, this emotion matches this, or like this date aligns with that. I will never not be amazed. Also, side note, someone submitted this, I don't know where, but they said the fact that she just did weekend shows was such a smart decision, and I completely agree. Like, it would not have been sustainable if Taylor was doing every single night in a row, you know? That was the only reason that she was able to perform as many shows as she did, was that recovery time. That said, I wouldn't have been able to do it even with that recovery time. She's still superhuman, but very smart scheduling. Anyway, yeah, Death by a Thousand Cuts and Clean is just kind of a killer combo. I can't imagine anyone not having that in their top 5. Congrats, Arlington. In our number 2 spot, we have Nashville Night 3 with Would've, Could've, Should've and Mine. I'm sure you guys saw this coming if this is not your first video of mine. That is essentially like the 2 songs that sit within my heart and are just like those songs for me. You know, we all have those songs that are just like, that means everything. That could make me cry at any moment. And the fact that she sang them together, it was a lot. Also having Aaron there too, and like having them talk about when they wrote Would've, Could've, Should've, what that meant. Oh my gosh, that was just so special. Now I would feel more jealous were this not that horrible, horrific storm rain show where you guys had the opening act cut, hours of rain delay, stood in the storms, and probably got home at like 3 a.m. feeling like a drowned rat. Because of all that, you guys definitely deserved this absolutely unreal pairing of songs. To sum up, I should have been there. I have a little side note saying night 3 in Sydney got Would've, Could've, Should've, Ivy, Forever and Always, and Maroon. And honestly, such a slay. I had tickets to go to Sydney and unfortunately got COVID from my Melbourne shows and would have still been contagious by the Sydney shows. So obviously couldn't go. And so I try not to dwell on the songs I missed because I was lucky enough to go. But Would've, Could've, Should've will always hurt a little bit. Now that Nashville pairing was my #1 slot for a very long time and I didn't think anything could beat it. But then along came Edinburgh, Scotland, night 2. If you know, you know. So here Taylor sang The Bolter, Getaway Car, and then All of the Girls You Loved Before, and a little song called Crazier.
You get extra credit points if you know this next song. It's really, really old. I've never gone with.
When she said on that live stream, you get extra points if you know this one, it's really old. I was like, oh my God, a debut song, how fun. And then hearing the opening lines of Crazier come out of her mouth, like I don't think I processed it for a good minute. And I'm sure a lot of you will know what I mean by that. Like your body knows the songs, it's like muscle memory. You can sing along instantly, but you're like, what is happening? What is this song? This obviously is my #1 pick forever. The Hannah Montana movie means everything to me, but also just that song, the grip that that song has always had on me and will always have on me.
I went into the Disney Channel building and I sat down with the president of Disney Channel and I said, I want to make history. And that's what this is.
Listen, I'm happy for you if you saw it, but I'm really not. And I mean, like, Getaway Car paired with The Bolter, perfection. We obviously knew that that would happen eventually. All of the Girls You Loved Before, I think had only been sang once before ever. So that was still like a very fun, rare surprise. But I will say, she could have cut all of those other 3 songs and this would still be my #1 pick. Just Crazier alone. Don't know if I'll ever be over it, but that's fine. So there you have it. Those are my top 10 picks and I cannot wait to hear yours. I also just want to say, I don't feel like I need to tell any of you this, but I saw so much. It's always TikTok, people being really disappointed with their surprise songs, and Taylor has done surprise songs for a lot of her previous tours and they've always been like an addition to the performance, you know, like they're a little special extra thing that we get. And I wonder if maybe the live streams are to blame for this. People just seemed so annoyed and angry and frustrated if they got a song they didn't personally like, but it is like 2% of the entire show and it's special. Like you're the only show that has that exact combination, so that will always be special. I don't know, I didn't understand it. It kind of rubbed me the wrong way seeing people complain about their show compared to others. We were lucky to be in the stadium. This is a fun little moment where Taylor gets to connect with the crowd. She didn't have to add that, she's already out there doing 3.5 hours, so I say just enjoy it. And I mean, while I've started ranting, why don't I just talk about the people that were angry about the last night being similar to the other shows? This is quite customary for concert tours. Every night is typically quite similar because they're not designed to be experienced by more than the people that are at that one individual show. And I know that that has like changed with the ERAS tour. I'm hoping that's not how we consume shows going forward. But yeah, I just wanted to remind everyone one more time that like going to a music concert is not the same as consuming episodic TV series at home where every time it's meant to be different. Pretty much a show is going to be the same each time. The fact that Taylor has made the effort to add surprise songs keeps it fresh for her, for the team, for people that go more than once. Similar complaints to like her tour post was too short. I don't know, I just feel like we're in a different era that I haven't really experienced before of demanding things from someone, being upset when those expectations aren't met. I don't know, I imagine that people that feel that way are making themselves angry and frustrated rather than focusing on what we have been given, which is a 2-year life-changing tour, a brand new book, and a brand new vinyl. I'm hoping that with this new chapter that will begin next year, hopefully we can turn a new leaf and see a bit less of that and just really celebrating and enjoying the things that she has created. Okay, well now that I'm already ranting and on a high horse apparently, let's get into unpopular opinions. The blue Fearless dress irked me. Fearless is yellow. Who wants a blue Fearless dress? Look, I totally get what you mean. Although now that I think about it, like Lover is pink, yet we had kind of a bunch of different colors for Lover. So it doesn't always have to correlate. Same with 1989, Speak Now. Anyway, personally, I really like that bodysuit. I think it's very flattering and like the colors are great. But I will say that gold bodysuit is actually the most biblically accurate for the Speak Now tour. Speak Now was where she was wearing those gold dresses. Fearless tour, she was in silver. She definitely mixed and matched a bit, but I honestly liked most of them. I hope we can all agree that the tiger stripe one was the ugliest. Down Bad should have been replaced with Guilty as Sin and Fresh Out the Slammer. I completely agree. I would also take off Fortnite if I had to for these two songs. But I understand having like the lead single from the album on the set list. It makes sense. Just my personal take. Guilty as Sin, Fresh Out the Slammer would have gone hard. I also think I'm Gonna Get You Back would have been really fun to have on there. Or maybe, I know it's over now, so like who cares? But it would have been cute to have a little slot where she could rotate through Tortured Poets like anthology songs. Obviously then it's like you have the dancers, the band. That would have to be an acoustic moment as well. Never mind, she knew what she was doing. I don't get the yellow and orange combinations for 1989 in Vancouver. It's so ugly in my opinion. So I'm guessing you're saying like, why would she choose those colors to immortalize forever in whatever they were filming on those last 3 nights? There is a very clear answer here. It's the same reason she does this. It's the same reason she changed the lyrics to Guy on the Chiefs or posted this. Our girl is in love. And I think that's really nice that she feels confident and happy to capture that and keep it in there. One of the last surprise songs should have been You'll Always Find Your Way Back Home. Surprisingly, I actually disagree, and I'm very excited for her to surprise us with this next year when we get self-titled Taylor's version. I think that'll be a really fun moment when she reveals that. And especially because all I ever hear about is Reputation Taylor's version, and obviously I'm excited for that too, but the more that I see people asking Taylor and also asking me and like other people online about Rep TV, it makes me want to ride harder for debut TV. So I will continue to do that. But yeah, I just think that album kind of needs all of the help it can get in terms of getting not only the general public, but it appears a lot of Swifties like attention and love. So I will let her have that moment with You'll Always Find Your Way Back Home. You know, I think that'll do a lot of the heavy lifting for the excitement around that. Not for me, obviously, but for those who need it. And also I will acknowledge that I am 100% projecting here. And like, if I was at those final shows, I would have lost my mind to hear that and I would have loved it. But the fact that I wasn't going means I'm like, no, don't sing it. No thanks. Saying the same speech before every set for every tour stop makes it sound disingenuous. I can understand that. It's kind of like when Lady Gaga said the same thing on every promotional interview for A Star Is Born. However, this is different because a concert, once again, is meant to be consumed live in person when you are there. So this has always been done by Taylor and almost every other artist, where they will say to you, this is the story of how I wrote this song. This is how the crowd's making me feel. Like, they have these little witty things written that maintain the flow of the performance. But the fact that we have taken it upon ourselves to tune in to shows we are not in attendance of means that we heard them before our own shows and continue to hear them after the fact. And that's just not normal, and that's our fault. So personally, I think it's completely fine, it's normal, and someone shouldn't have to come up with a new routine or things to say every single night. I think if you're putting on a 3.5 hour show, it's gotta be a pretty well-oiled machine, and that includes the talking bits. They have to be rehearsed just like the songs are. And especially for someone like Taylor, who every single thing she does or says is scrutinized, I would want to have a pretty solid idea of what I was going to say too, because people love to take things out of context. So yeah, it's fine by me. The reason debut isn't on the set list is because when debut Taylor's version is out, there will be a debut tour, so she's toured all albums. I wish I agreed with you. I wish I thought this were true. I just simply don't. I don't think that Taylor's best use of her time and energy is going on tour for an album that is that old. I say that as someone that would be front row at every show, obviously, but like, I just think she's more focused on creating and moving forward and challenging herself, and that kind of has had its time. Obviously, we will get to appreciate and celebrate it again in that new era, but I don't think it'll be in the form of a tour, sadly. She still needs to explain why she omitted it from the set list, and maybe she will. But Taylor, if you're watching this, we would love that. Okay, she should have also given the 22 hat to older fans. I totally understand this perspective. Obviously, ideally, you would have just such a wide variety of people that could be receiving it. But personally, I think it has to be a safety consideration. In an ideal world, that would have been amazing if anyone of any age could have been picked any night. But I just think there are too many risks. The amount of adults that go to concerts, pay for their ticket, throw things on stage, grab the artist. This has happened to Taylor multiple times.
Just because communication means having gentle, healthy boundaries, it really freaks me out when the stuff gets thrown on the stage. I love that you brought presents and that is so nice, but just, can you please not throw them on the stage? I love you so much.
As we know, this is someone that has experience with stalking, sexual harassment. If I was writing a part of the show where I'm going to be interacting and hugging and embracing and meeting someone from the audience, and I've gone through all of that stuff, firstly, I almost can't believe that she did feel safe enough to add this in, but the fact that it has been for the most part young kids is kind of the only way to do it, I think. Also, just seeing these adorable children experiencing so much joy made me cry every single time. I think we all sing. I think that brought all of us so much joy to witness, and it was just such an innocent, beautiful moment, so pure, and probably more fun for Taylor. Also, it probably eliminates a lot of jealousy. Imagine if it were creators and people on Twitter or Tumblr, adults that were getting picked. I just feel like there would be a lot more unkindness within our community if that were the case. Whereas you can't ever really be mad at a kid for having this beautiful experience. You know, the only adults I can think of that got it were Michael, who created the Bejeweled dance, which Taylor had incorporated into the set list. So he's a part of history in itself. And then Oliver Mills randomly, who's I think a Kiwi influencer, content creator, whose videos and content Taylor loved. So when you've kind of watched someone online and also they're a bit of a internet presence, I guess, it would eliminate risk of feeling unsafe with them, I imagine. Because both of these people had a bit of a social following, it does decrease that risk a little bit of them doing something dangerous because they would lose their career over it, obviously. So while I understand where you're coming from, I think it was kind of the only way that made sense. Okay, not an opinion, but what is your take on the forgotten golden I can do it with a broken heart outfit? Totally forgot about this, so that's accurate. I don't know if this makes me a bad fan, but I just don't really care. I don't mean that in a mean way or bad way. I just haven't given it any thought. I saw that it existed and I was probably oh, we haven't seen her wear that, but it hasn't consumed my mind at all. Maybe I would care more if we saw a bodysuit for Lover being made and saw her wearing it, and then she never wore a bodysuit in the Lover period. She just wore the blazer and boots. To me, this is just another variation of an outfit. It's not my favorite outfit of the tour, so I'm not that affected by it. And yeah, I don't think there is any deeper meaning to it at all. They probably just didn't like it, but it hasn't bothered me. However, this Lover bodysuit, presumably, I am still very intrigued by. Oh, I really do believe we got the surprise songs we needed to hear. As someone that got You're Losing Me, no comment. I don't get it why she released the movie already knowing the Tortured Poets department existed. Maybe she thought people wouldn't be as hyped if she waited for the tour to end, but I seriously doubt it. I do think that is the exact reason they waited, and I think that they're probably right. I'm trying to imagine a world in where the film came out now instead of last October, and obviously fans, Swifties, we would all still go, we'd all still be so excited. I'm rewatching it this weekend with friends, but I don't think the general public would care as much. In fact, I think the general public would be over it. People have made it very clear that they're sick of seeing Taylor, so I don't think now would have been anywhere near as successful. Obviously, especially with America, last year in my mind was very much ERAS tour summer. It was Barbie summer, that all kind of tied in quite well. Sadly, I think they did it at the right time. Even though I watched it in the cinema before seeing it live, I think they made the right choice. So High School feels so random in the Tortured Poets department set. Obviously, I'm going to disagree with this because it's one of the highlights for me, but I will tell you why. To me, this is just such a natural progression after singing But Daddy I Love Him. We know how the last minute of that song goes. We know how it ends, the emotional note that it leaves us with, or the theme. To go into So High School is just perfect. Someone else admitted that it doesn't fit in with the Female Rage, the musical, and I think to that I say not all of the Tortured Poets department is Female Rage. With that argument, you could say the same thing about Delicate not fitting the theme of the other Reputation songs because they're so hardcore or whatever. It doesn't fit in with songs like Look What You Made Me Do or Ready For It. But albums, like Women, contain multitudes. Shake It Off was one of the weakest songs on the set list. Again, I get where you're coming from, but I think it needed to be there. Yes, naturally, it's a given that I would put Wonderland or Is It Over Now as a permanent fixture in there, but these these songs, even like the Red set, the Fearless set, had to be there, I fear. No, you know what? I will I will cut the Red set down. I never made one of those videos about like what I would change in the set list. I would take out We're Never Ever Getting Back Together and I Knew You Were Trouble, and I'm replacing them with Treacherous and Holy Ground and State of Grace as a medley, perhaps. However, just like Shake It Off, these songs, these like big single hits, are part of Taylor's legacy, and the ERAS tour is about that. It is about like the eras that define her career, and these big singles, while they might not be our favorites, are a big part of her career. Shake It Off in particular was kind of the song that like shot her off into the stratosphere of superstardom. Yes, it's poppy and it's cheesy like me, but isn't that kind of the point? Like, these big anthems are fun in a stadium and everyone knows them. So whether you're there as a long-time, lifelong fan, or you're a new fan, or you've brought along your best friend that only knows a couple songs, everyone can sing that together. Also, if it weren't on the set list, I would have had to have picked a different pee break, which would have been Bad Blood, and that would have been way too stressful because the surprise songs were right after that, so it was needed for me. Illicit Affairs has so much emotion in the live that I can't listen to the studio version without finding a live version. I totally get this. There are so many songs that Taylor added like an inflection or a different note or a different key, and now the original just doesn't hit the same. Just feels wrong. Like in The One.
You meet some woman on the internet and take her home.
The way she sang that, ooh, so good. Even the way that she sings like Try and Come For My Job. But yeah, Illicit Affairs, like nothing compares to this.
You showed me colors you know I can't see with anyone else.
I just think that the way she sings that song, it just takes me to another place.
It hurts to be stood up for so long and I lost energy about halfway through. Honestly, that is so valid. I think it is more painful to be standing for a long period of time compared to like walking or dancing or running if you're fit, and you should have no shame in that. If you've seen my vlog, I sat down a lot. Every transition between sets, I would rest my feet. I'm someone that gets chronic pain and I did not want anything to ruin my experience that night, but that's what our chairs were for. I'm just now realizing you might have been at a European show where the floor did not have chairs. That still blows my mind, and like maybe that's what you guys are used to, so maybe it's normal and fine, but I would have really struggled. So I absolutely agree with you if that is the case. Yeah, that would have been hard. I know it's a sweet moment, but Marjorie doesn't need to be on the set list. I completely disagree. I know I said in my original video about the tour, I was shocked to see it on the set list. I assumed that was kind of like Soon You'll Get Better, where why would Taylor ever want to sing that live? It's so emotional and vulnerable, but getting to hear Marjorie's voice play throughout those huge arenas, I'm gonna cry. It hit me a lot harder than I was expecting it to. Even like first night I went, when I was up really close right near the stage, for some reason didn't hit me. I appreciated it as a song, but I emotionally was okay. But then my second show, being up in the nosebleeds with my friends, I was just so overcome with emotion. I sobbed that entire time. They were both holding my hands, and I think that was because we could see all of the phone lights, seeing everyone come together in that moment. We all have grandparents or family members that we miss and love, and for Taylor to include Marjorie in this tour and in this legacy, and yeah, allow Marjorie to have her voice heard in that way, I think was really special. What was the red lover bodysuit? Looks like a Cheeto and only matches the red blazer. Oh, like the long coat thing? Yeah, the red bodysuit wasn't my favorite, but aren't Cheetos orange? I don't know if we have them here or not. I don't eat them, but I thought they were orange, so I'm confused by that. Not an opinion, but you predicted the Lisbon Night 2 surprise songs in your ERAS tour predictions video. I don't remember what that was, but I'm not surprised. Oh my god, speaking of favorite things, I'm only remembering this now because it's another prediction surprise song that I got right, but a lot of us did. When Taylor finally sang Mad Woman with Cassandra, and I had also said I did something bad would work with that. The fact that this, you know, finally happened, but was also the day that Wicked came out. And she sang her 3 songs with references to witches. I feel like that can't have been a coincidence, and like that was very fun. Okay, this is my friend Caitlin being very bold. The rep fit was always so ugly. I don't agree, but I feel like it's a really hard thing to have an opinion on, given that we only had like one shape and for the most part one color. Like, it's something that we saw every single night. Maybe you get sick of it more easily. I just can't imagine an alternative. Like, she's not gonna do a flowy dress. A bodysuit would have maybe been weird. No, a bodysuit would have been fine because it's like the rep tour. But I liked it, I'm sorry. Okay, I would have preferred Getaway Car to Delicate in terms of a live tour version at ERAS. I totally agree. I think Getaway Car would have been incredible on the set list. And honestly, I think the reason that Delicate was on the set list is because Taylor loves us singing 1, 2, 3, let's go bitch, and that's it. I mean, Getaway Car had its moment on the rep tour, but so did Delicate. So of the two, I would have preferred that too. She should have opened each era with the title track from that era. Okay, but every era doesn't have a title track. We would have Fearless, Red, Speak Now, and Evermore? Is that it? And Lover. I don't know. I mean, if it would have given us a second Speak Now song, I will take it. I will include here some texts from the first night of tour when my friend and I were like watching live and reacting to the set list. Neither of us could believe that Speak Now was only one song. Gracie and Sabrina are the only openers that make sense. I guess I don't really know what you mean by that, because for me, with the ERAS tour, which is like a walk down memory lane of Taylor's past eras, I would have gone into the archives more and found like her old collaborators. That's why Paramore made so much sense to me. Like Taylor and Hailey were such good friends, and Paramore had a pretty big influence on Taylor and her sound at that time. Speak Now, the title track. I'm not saying they shouldn't have been openers. I am so grateful that Sabrina was mine because I've loved her since like Girl Meets World, but just for the sake of this argument, I don't really get why they make sense more than anyone else. The ERAS tour was about celebrating all of Taylor's past work, whereas these two artists kind of represent the future. There should have been an interval. I didn't want to miss any songs, but I was on my period. Yeah, it's tough being somewhere for so long without taking a break if you have any kind of medical things, sensory issues, or your period. However, I do think an interval would have been almost worse because it would have prolonged the time we were there, and the lines would have been so long you wouldn't have even been able to get to the bathroom. So I think the only real solution was like picking the song that you could afford to miss, or like running in between a transition and going then, unfortunately. And then I want to end on this one because it's a submission I got a lot, which is, where was our announcement? And I guess to that my question is, what announcement do you mean? Like, where did Taylor say, hey guys, on my final show, I will be announcing this super special secret thing? This kind of came out of nowhere and people were assuming that she would do something for the last show just because. And I don't know, I just can't imagine how that would make someone feel when they've just dedicated 2 years of their life to this thing, and rather than enjoying the last performance of it, the crowd is chanting more. I just think there was nothing at all extra owed to us. First of all, especially for those of us watching at home, where like we had really no right to do that. They could have stopped us if they wanted to, but even for those people that were there at the show, they are entitled to the exact same thing that each of us all went to that same show for. And in particular, like, they got to be a part of history, the last ever ERAS tour performance. So I guess I just don't understand the disappointment. Or maybe like if you do feel disappointed, that's okay, but just feel it. Like, I saw people sending posts to Taylor and Taylor Nation saying, we feel ripped off, this is unfair, why was nothing special? It's totally natural and fine to wonder if something might happen. I see the same thing about like publications basically speculating about whether Taylor and Travis are gonna have kids immediately now that she's finished this tour. And I'm getting really negative in this video, I'm sorry, but like, to me it just feels gross. Wondering is a really normal, natural part of life, but that's something we do internally. But you don't need to be that mum at Christmas that's like, when am I getting grandkids? It's just something weird to me about like a woman who is so successful, but the conversation has to turn to, will she become a mum? Like, I don't know. Maybe Taylor doesn't care. I think she does. I would. There's a difference between wondering internally and like making public posts and think pieces and videos that she can and will see, because we know she sees stuff online. So I think there's been a lot of overstepping boundaries, and that includes this constant demand for more. I mean, it's the same thing with people demanding where is Reputation all year, when like we got 2 re-records every other year. We've been given a brand new album this year, a double album mind you, and a book, and people are still like, why is Reputation taking so long? Maybe so that people will enjoy it. I don't know. Maybe no one else cares about this, but some of the things I see online I just feel like are a little bit demanding, I guess. I think it's important to remember that the people reading your words are real people too. Okay, now I will share some of my own unpopular opinions. I didn't hate the Folklore Evermore Folkmore blend. It did not bother me at all. Obviously we gained some time back by cutting out that transition, those transitional periods, and if we had to do this by adding a debut song into Fearless, I would have been fine with it. And contrary to popular belief, it would not be Tim McGraw, it would be our song, because that was the song that made me a fan, and I think it's just, it would get the crowd pretty hyped. Most people know it. I think it would have been really fun, and it would have been fine to do in a Fearless dress. Now I'm gonna kind of go back on that, what I just said. The Folklore and Evermore sets I adored, but because they are such like lower energy sets, that is why the Red and 1989 sets in comparison had to be the big singles. It had to make up for that energy dip, songs that the entire stadium would know. So Folklore and Evermore are the reason that we didn't get more deep cuts. Let me know which you would have preferred. Okay, and this might be obvious given what I said before, but I am glad Reputation, Taylor's version, was not announced. Sorry, sue me. I know I've been saying this for months or years now, but it would have overshadowed the end of the ERAS tour, and I really wanted Taylor and everyone involved to get to celebrate that and get to like mark that moment in history of everything they achieved, rather than mentioning the word reputation, because that would have just turned all eyes to that instead. Obviously, I know Easter eggs are a thing that we have done and Taylor has done since the beginning of her career, but this past year has just felt a bit like every other TikTok I see is, here's why Reputation's being announced tonight. And I'm just like, who cares at this point? If it is, it is. If not, I don't care, you know? Like at this point, I'm like, I want to be surprised. I'm gonna tune out when she's ready to give it to us. I'll happily receive it. This is a response to another take I've seen online lately, which is that the acoustic set is the Taylor Swift debut part of the set list. I really like the sentiment of that, but I don't think it's true, because like if that were the case, she would have done at least one debut song per night, which by the way, I think would have been a great idea. But yeah, I just sadly don't think that's true. I think it makes sense. I think this comes from us being in the bargaining stage of grief, grieving the debut set list. So, you know, I get it.
I respect it.
But I just don't think I agree. And now I'm gonna end on probably the least controversial thing I've said in this video, which is that the newer 1989 two-piece sets really grew on me and I prefer them to the first set. This is my favorite combination. I just love when she looks like Barbie, though I will be haunted by Taylor never wearing the green set. It doesn't really bother me missing like the yellow-green combo because she did it in reverse and it's kind of like whatever, but never having green top and green bottom. I wonder if that will keep her up at night. I've seen people theorize that she would plan to wear them in Vienna and then like didn't want to wear them after that, maybe out of respect or just like a feeling. I feel like it also could have just been coincidence. Maybe she doesn't keep track of it like we have. Let me know which show you went to, or shows if you were lucky to go to more than one. I've been seeing that trend lately of people showing all the shows they went to. I have so much jealousy and so much awe for the creativity of people's costumes. While we're on it, I've been collecting this, so here are a few of my favorite costumes and outfits that people wore to the ERAS tour. This really brought out a new level of creativity, I think, in fans. So snaps for all of you. I was very impressed. It is crazy to think that we are closing this chapter on this book that is, you know, Taylor Swift's life and being able to celebrate the things that she does. But I truly am just so excited to see what is next for her. And hopefully that includes a lot of rest. Well, I think that is pretty much everything I have to say. There are about a million more of these submissions and I'm so sorry I couldn't get to more of these. Obviously I love making these videos, but there are simply too many to include every time. So thank you to anyone who submitted them. Hopefully we can do something else like this in the future. If you've made it all the way to the end, please comment a hand heart emoji. I love you so much. If you aren't subscribed, you can subscribe down below if you would like to, or you can give this video a like to see more videos from me. But I'm just so excited to hear all of your thoughts in the comments today. I will be replying to as many as I can. I'm so excited to talk to you guys in the comments about this. Long live the ERAS tour. I love you guys and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Is this what it feels like?